republic for which it stands.
One nation, under God.
Indivisible.
With liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the War Room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And by the grace of God himself, it is Sunday afternoon and we are back. Hunkered down in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. Hunkered down in a bunker. I mean, I really am not. I cannot do this podcast today. I just can't. I tell you what, we struggled so hard here. And everyone that was looking forward to us going live and the fact that we didn't write at 3 o'clock, it was hard work in here. I mean, we're not a couple of techies by any means. I mean, I don't know your background. No. I don't think you are. We had Wi-Fi not working. We had computers restarting. We got the Wi-Fi up. We got the computer to come up, and then what am I on? Google wouldn't play anything, and then we got that figured out after restarting the computer, and then the camera wouldn't work, and then the computer just restarted itself randomly when I touched a wire, and then the computer wouldn't work, or the camera wouldn't work again, and now it's up.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is we are not sure how long this is going to last, honestly.
But you did solve it, right? It was,
I don't know what it was, to be honest.
We figured it out. Just keep unplugging and restarting until it all works.
That's all. That's honestly, that's all I know how to do. I mean, I made a phone call up to the house and told my wife, get the 9-year-old off the VR, shut everything down. I need the Wi-Fi for, an hour, hopefully. But what a night. Honestly, besides getting just banned off of everything, last time I did live stuff, like last year, I struggled. I struggled with the Wi-Fi. I struggled with everything. And so we're trying it again.
Yeah.
And so far, I like the new streaming program that I'm using. I mean, I think it works pretty good. I mean, I'm not on that end. So I don't know how it looks. I mean, if you're out there, watching, maybe comment, right? Feel free to post a comment at all, and just let us know that if you can hear us or if this is just a waste, because I'll just shut this thing down and just do the audio recording if I have to. I don't know if it's up and running. I'm hoping it is. No one's complained yet. So, but if you do comment, we will respond. But I can't type. I'm afraid if I touch the computer, the stuff's going to shut down again. Honestly. So. What have you been up to? It's been 3 days.
Yeah. Sore from the workout I did on Thursday, doing some squat jumps and stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah, we get out and we work out together and go running in the mornings.
Yeah.
We go our separate ways. My wife always asks me, she's like, how does Eli like running with you? I'm like, I don't see Eli. We just go different directions and we meet back at the vehicle when it's time to go home.
Yeah. It was rough trying to keep up with you. So
I don't know about that. I went out today and it was, I started at 6, an hour earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. It was icy. Okay. It was the snow had melted and turned to ice in spots on the trails, and there's lots of rocks on the trails. And okay, awesome. Well, everything seems to be working great. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Look at that. So now I got this going over here now, and I'm not sure how to get rid of these. Let's see. I don't know. There we go. Now we're up and running.
Yeah.
Perfect. But my headlamp, so it's dark. I lost my headlamp like 15 minutes in. It died. Batteries went out on it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, okay, this is, and I'm stubborn, so I'm still running around out there, and I'm slipping and I'm tripping, and it was horrible. But I still got in 8 miles. So,
nice.
And that's what I did. And I actually had a guy swing by, this week, actually, what has happened is I had 2 of the group classes start. Okay. I had the men's, and then I had the women's advanced group start. And it was, just kind of go over the paperwork and kind of get them excited for the season. And I think I got a really good group. I mean, the women's group's going to be great. It's the same group I've always had. Same people have been here 2 or 3 years, which is awesome. But the men's group, they're going to be fun. Yeah. They're all new and they're excited and they're hungry and they're ready to learn. So I think it's it's going to be a good class. And then I had a guy call me up for a private class yesterday.
Okay.
And he started off he brought 2 guns. He had his gun that he's had forever, and then he went and he purchased another one. He wanted help with his new gun, but he brought a SIG 1911. I think it's called the Nightmare. It's chambered in 357 SIG. It was a 1911. Okay. And I was okay, but, hey, Pete's back. All right.
And thank you to the Pierces for the kind words.
Yes, and Quincy, everything. Good. I know Pete's been waiting for this. He's the guy I was texting saying, I don't know, Pete, man. It ain't looking good. But anyhow, he brought his 1911 out, and it was kind of choked up like 1911s like to do sometimes. But he had and I got to look this up because I don't even know what it was. It's it was a Legion. It was a SIG Legion. I think it was a 229 Legion. Okay. And it was chambered in 9mm. It had the SIG Romeo on it, the red dot on it, and we got him all dialed in with that. And we did a bunch of, we had to work on trigger press, right? Okay. So we did a bunch of 50-50 drills, and then he burned through probably 300 rounds of ammo.
Wow.
And he almost did just straight up like 50-50 drills, but that you don't know what the 50-50 drill is. What it is you take your firearm, you load a magazine, you put the magazine in, you rack the slide, then you drop the magazine. Okay, so you have 1 round chambered, magazine is out, then you extend the firearm out and you take that first shot. You press that trigger, come back out to reset, and then dry fire it. And you can really tell, and the person shooting it can really tell as well, if they are if they're flinching, right? Yeah. If they're jerking that trigger. And so we did that over and over and over and over. And it seems like it takes forever, because it does, because it's essentially but man, it is an effective drill, especially for someone learning the trigger. It's a very, very, very effective drill. So that worked out real well, and it has great weather for it yesterday.
Oh, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
I don't know what the temp was. I mean, it's in the 30s, right? I mean, it's probably high in mid 30s compared to the 2 and the 14 below that we had earlier in the week. Like, that was, the sun was out. Oh, it's phenomenal.
My chickens laid eggs, so it must.
There you go. You're a rich man now.
Yeah.
Go buy a lotto ticket. But no, that 50-50 drill, right, took that guy from, a brand new gun after we got his red dot dialed in, took his group, which wasn't horrible, but it was pretty big. It was like that, from that to like fist size, if not smaller. And he shot lots of rounds, and we kind of had to pull back a little bit toward the end because we improved his grip a little bit, and he's getting a little fatigued. His grip was getting a little wore out and whatnot, but I think he'll be back. So nice. I hope, because he was pretty excited. He had a couple holsters, and I think we're gonna learn some more stuff when he comes back. Hopefully he goes and practice. I always encourage everyone to go and practice. Yeah. Because you can, if he calls me again in like a month and signs up for another class, and you don't practice, then you almost kind of have to start over again.
Yeah.
But that SIG, I'm not a SIG guy, but that was a pretty nice SIG. Wasn't too impressed with the 1911. Obviously, for obvious reasons, but I didn't mind. The other one that he had, the Legion or whatever, SIG and their numbers. They're just like their Glocks. You got the 226, 228, 229, 22 whatever, and then now you go Legion, and then you're like 63 something or other. I don't know. I can't keep track of them. I had another guy get a hold of me today. He's actually the guy whose daughters, him and his daughters came. He helped me with. Yeah. He texted me today, and I think they're going to do a big set of like 6 classes, like for the group later on. They just have to kind of get it dialed in, and their dad John, like he took the class as well, and he's going to go buy a new gun.
Oh, okay.
And he listed out a bunch of SIGs he was interested in. Yeah. And I'm like, he's like, what do you think about these, Tom? I'm like, I got to send him to James. So old Magnum, he hooked me up and helped me out, maybe so I didn't look like a dummy, because I can teach, but man, I don't have experience with every single gun. I just don't.
Yeah.
That's a lot of guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know. And then John said he thinks I might have to go gun shopping with him, which is
awesome.
Pretty exciting. So not only do you get to hear all about that, but you get to hear about the update that I don't have on the gun I ordered.
Oh.
Nothing. I even got to the point where I went online and checked with my bank to see if like the money actually like left my account. And it has.
Oh, it has. Okay.
They've taken a lot of money out of my account, and I still haven't seen my gun. I mean, send me an update like, hey, Todd, we took your gun out of the box from HK. Give me something.
Did they tell you? Did they even give you an update that, hey, yeah, your money has been, payment has been received?
I've got a receipt.
Yeah.
But I was beginning to wonder because you go in there and you hit, and everyone's tired of my update, but you go in there and it says check on your order. So I hit check on my order, check on the status of my order, and it says order placed January 8th. And then it says today's date, and it says awaiting fulfillment. I'm like, what the hell? Tell me that you've ordered it from HK. Tell me that you've cut the plastic off the box. Tell me that you've done something with it.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point of those little updates? If it's just going to be,
point?
It's like red light, green light. If it's basically go or not go, you might as well just have the red light just not come on.
That's right. I know what's going to happen is that I am going to get an update. You know what's going to be? We have shipped your gun.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be 2 days after you get it too.
That's like me. Like if I was a heroin addict, right? I don't need heroin now, and then 6 weeks later, I need it in between too. It's going to drive me absolutely nuts. It's Jim, pretty soon it's going to say it's ordered. Yeah, I hope so. Something, tell me something. You've taken my money. I better be getting something pretty soon because you said online. I have to go check. It says 4 to 6 weeks. Well, we're like 4 weeks in at this point. We're damn near 4 weeks in.
Was that 4 to 6 weeks till you get it, or 4 to 6 weeks till you get an update?
Yeah, probably 4 to 6 weeks until I get an update. That's canceled. No, can't be canceled. So that's another thing too. When you buy something from a company, right? Give me some updates. Like when I take I have an old International Scout. If you guys know me, anyone seen me around town, they know I love these old International Scouts. So I've got one, and even when I take it to my metal guy to have him like build me a roll cage, he'll say, well, man, I'm way behind. You bring it over here, I'll work on it, when I can, and I'm okay with that. But you know what I need? This is what I tell them. Take your time. Do a good job.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm all about that. I'm not like, I need it tomorrow. But I told him, I said, just take some pictures of it. Text me some progress pictures. I'm not checking on you, but I like to feel like I'm part of it, right?
Yeah.
And so that guy will do that. Just do something. Do something, Langdon Tactical. It's like I bought a really high-priced holster a while back. And this a few years ago. And it cost a lot of money. It was like a $200 holster. It's a $200 holster.
Did that come with the gun?
No. but here's what pissed me off, okay? And it's like buying auto parts, right? Just like this holster. I bought this holster, and I like stickers, right? You put them on your water jug. You put them on whatever.
Yeah.
It came with one, but it was stuck to the outside of the box they shipped it in. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I spent $200 for this chunk of plastic. I know I overpaid for this freaking holster, but you sold me in your video, and the sticker you send me is stuck to the freaking box. That's uncalled for. It's a $200 sticker that I can't enjoy.
Yeah.
I kept the box around for a while so I could show people, but I think I finally got pissed and burned it.
Did you reach out? Did they
tell
you, if you pay for shipping $10, you get the sticker?
So I've got another bone to pick with this gentleman here, and I'll tell you whose holster it was. It was from Spencer's Concealment. It was a Keeper's Concealment holster, right? And about a year later, right? I used to follow that guy on social media, and I don't know the guy personally. Don't know him personally at all. And he threw out there. He goes, "Hey, I'm looking for states." He also instructs classes, and so occasionally, I've had it happen. I've had it happen before. Occasionally, I can't figure out how to make these work. Here we go. Occasionally, other instructors will reach out to me, like that are going to travel in the area that might offer something that's not from around here, and they will ask to use my range for classes, right? That's to make money. That's how you have to. That's what you need to do as an instructor, right? Travel around, right? And this guy posted on social media, "Hey, I'm doing these classes on concealed carry, on appendix carry. That's what he's big into. He's a big guy, and he appendix carries, which is impressive, and he's good at it. And so he said he was looking for states to teach some classes in. He had his basic states that he'd hit around where he lived, right? I think he was down in Missouri or Oklahoma or somewhere. And he said, hey, I'm looking to come to a state that I've never been in to teach a class. Mm-hmm. And so I hit him up. I said, man, I'm in Idaho. Oh, I've never been to Idaho. I'd love to go to Idaho and teach some classes. I said, perfect. Let's make this happen. And then he's like, well, I want to know the dimensions of your range. Okay, whatever. You need to know the information. I sent him a video. I sent him some pictures and give him, the dimensions. Well, how many people can I stick on your range? And I said, well, this is how many shooting lanes I have. And we went back and forth. And, well, that might work. Well, that might not. And then all of a sudden, nothing. Just radio silence. He won't respond. He didn't. And that was like a year ago. He didn't respond to anything, right? And I'm just like, okay, dude. If my range isn't good enough for you, just let me know. Yeah. I mean, honestly, when I host another instructor to come from out of state to teach a class, I don't make that much money. Yeah. It's mostly just for exposure, right? Letting someone else hear. And that's kind of what that was about. And I wasn't trying to, we didn't even get to the point where we talked money, but he didn't like the size of my range, I guess. Mm. But in all honesty, when you're having a handgun class, you don't need a lot of distance, right? You just don't need a lot of distance. And if you're using someone's range, you make it work. Yeah. That's the way I look at it. I was slightly offended. Yeah. Like I wasn't good enough. And, and maybe I should have told him, if you do come up, you better bring me a damn sticker. Because you made that holster. You better bring a handful of them stickers for me. That's exactly what you need to do. And then I'm going to pick up. I got to read the comments. So you got to catch up a little bit. I can't do both, man.
Yeah, I saw a couple come through.
Yeah, I got to check this. Thank you for commenting, everyone. This is great. So
we got some from San Francisco.
Yeah, Jim says, I work for an elementary school in San Francisco Bay Area. We just had an active shooter drill in the police department. And the police department says that the school district does not want to give master keys to the police. What are your thoughts as law enforcement?
Well, let me, Jim, you give us your thoughts first so we know what direction you're headed there with your thoughts.
Well, I mean...
yeah, because there's a few different ways to go with that.
I think... Oh, okay. He thinks my range is pretty good. I like that. Thank you, Jim. I think it's good too, but obviously this guy didn't. So it says the police department says that the school district does not want to give master keys to the police. Don't you think that the law enforcement should have master keys?
That's where it's a little iffy. San Francisco, no.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, honestly, when they trust the cops in San Francisco.
Yeah, because that's your home state.
Yeah.
You don't want to admit that, do you?
No. It's not my home now. But there's I think the staff should be trained in arms.
Yes. Oh, I agree with that for sure.
Yes. So I agree with the cops having the master keys. It's a little more complicated in terms of those relationships between the school district and
law enforcement.
Yeah. So without knowing like kind of what the relationship is, it's kind of hard to say, to tell them to trust the cops with the master keys. I understand how that works. When I was patrolling stuff, we had master keys to different apartment complex and all those, but those are all decisions based off of say that whoever manages that apartment complex. So I wouldn't say it's just a thing to where, you're cops, you guys should have master keys to everything. So definitely depends on their relationship, the trust and competence really. Because there's times where even if you're managing say an apartment complex, you might decide based off of previous history with law enforcement, maybe it's not the best thing to have them have a master key to your complex, and vice versa. You might think it's a good idea. So without knowing their relationship, it's hard to say. Definitely understand the process of having the master key, but sometimes that can, with administration changes and it's hard to get everyone in the know to exactly know who has keys and to keep track of that. So sometimes when you do give out master keys, it can add to confusion should something happen as far as who accessed this.
Right.
who did they work for? Because it's not just the cops who would have the master keys. There's still other staff and stuff within the district. So it can create more confusion as far as knowing who has what, who has access to what. And then also without you being the one who's hiring those people, you don't know if it's the patrol cop who has a master key who just got out to patrol and finished training, or if it's a seasoned vet, or you just don't know. So there's a lot that goes into it with deciding who gets a master key, regardless of if they're law enforcement or not.
Well, here in Idaho, it doesn't matter because this is kind of funny because I got an article that came up out of Butte County, Idaho. This is up in it says a statement regarding an incident at Arco Elementary School. Obviously, they don't lock all the doors there. And let me go ahead. I'm just going to read this to you because this is fascinating. I mean, and you probably came across some weird stuff in law enforcement. This is just odd, but I mean, this is Arco. So if anyone knows where Arco is, right? I mean, it says, on Sunday, January 29th, our deputies received a call from a local business. The caller described a male subject disclosing concerning confessions that did not occur in our jurisdiction. Deputies responded and looked at surveillance and recognized the male from a recent encounter. As they were looking up possible locations for the male at the sheriff's office, the male knocked on one of our secured doors. Deputies took that opportunity to interview him. Based on vague statements referring to the school, deputies conducted a building check of their schools where they found boot prints in the snow and an unlocked door. Okay. They began clearing the building and they found a form filled out on a desk with the male's personal information on it. So he checked in at the office. Yeah. Nobody was at the school, but he checked into the office and filled out a form with his personal info on it. They collected the form as evidence. They then continued searching the school for any damaged or people. They located suspected DNA in a toilet on one of the bathrooms in the elementary school. Okay. Reproductive DNA. That's what we're gonna call it. They then discovered an exterior door that appeared forced open due to missing screws. They then nothing. I don't think anything was taken. They got burglary charges on the guy. What an interesting case. The guy breaks in. He leaves his information. He filled out the check-in at the office form. I thought it was entertaining. It kind of to me kind of sounds like a Florida man incident, but
yeah, I'm trying to figure out even the burglary. How you even get burglary based off of those
said they think maybe he walked in, but there was another door that was forced open. Okay. So I don't know, you got to do something. If he's showing up in an elementary school and but pleasuring himself in the bathroom.
Yeah, definitely.
You got to do something. Yeah. So that's a little off the topic for Patriot Defense, but I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and because I say the felony, because burglary, because that becomes a felony typically. Yeah. Sometimes it's a wobbler, but yeah, because you could enter, and then that's like breaking and entering. But yeah, I guess the part about what the DNA found, honestly, probably does become.
It's Arco. The guy was probably looking for a place to get warm.
Yeah, yeah. So
that's up by INEL.
To be honest, that's not even every day. That's a once an hour thing in California.
Well, like I said, it's up by INEL. He's probably that was Arco, the first city to be lit by. Like nuclear power or whatever it is. Yeah,
is that named after Arco, like the gas people?
No, Arco is what someone fill me in if you guys know Arco. I can't have a chance to look it up. It's up by INEL, the nuclear place.
Oh, okay.
In Idaho, right? Yeah, it's an interesting little town. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I would say in California that would be our first 4 calls of the morning. That's interesting.
That would be in that same kind of
that's
if not at a school, then at least at your house or that's an early morning call.
Something that came up actually I do a radio show on Fridays. I'm shifting gears again already, but I do a radio show on Fridays, and what came up was we were talking about mental health, right? Mm-hmm. And we've talked a lot about mental health, and even on this show. And whenever there's a mass shooting, and before I get started on this, I'm gonna say these are just my opinion. This is just Eli's opinion, and we're not doctors, we're not professionals. We just, if you've listened to this podcast before. You know, we just kind of call it like we see it.
Yeah, I'm not Anthony Fauci, so don't don't worship me, and everything out of my mouth isn't true. You know if my last name was Fauci, then yeah, go ahead.
We should have just told him if that balloon that was flying over was unvaccinated. Fauci would have taken that thing down in seconds.
Shot a bunch of jabs at it, like ding.
saving us, saving lives.
Then as soon as it came down, he would have flip flopped and been like, I don't think we should have done that. I never said we should have done that.
I'm sorry. This is just a side effect. It doesn't. You stab a balloon and it deflates. We couldn't see this coming.
We can't say that's connected.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on and talk about mental health. So every time that there is some kind of mass shooting, school shooting, whatever it is, right? Yeah. We talk about, and it's like the new phrase, mental health. And I've done it myself. It's mental health. There's a mental health crisis in this country, and I do believe that there is a lot of mental health things. I was going to look up the number, but I don't have it exactly. And but just in our area alone, just with the bridge and some different things around here, I think this year alone we've had to have like 6 or 7 like youth suicides in this town. I mean, the amount is just insane right now. Like so, my numbers might be a smidge off, but it's still pretty. Yeah, the atomic city. Yep. So it's a big deal, right? Mental health. Why are these kids doing this? Why are these people doing this? Why are they doing these mass shootings? We could always say it's mental health, and we have in the past. But here's the thing: is mental health causing the shootings, or is that a thing, or are they pushing mental health, and the government is pushing that idea of mental health because it's something for us to latch onto? Because we're happy that they're not blaming the gun. Maybe they're blaming, which they still are, but they're trying to talk mental health. Or is it just what the government wants us to think so they can, put to use their new red flag laws that they like to bring
in the hotline we're all paying for?
Yeah.
I mean, not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but I mean, you can see that with a lot of the language and a lot of the stuff that the agendas they're pushing. Climate change is the same way, right?
Right.
Oh, you deny the climate's changing? Well, I mean, it's the climate. By definition, it's always changing. Right. So same concept, right? You just use a phrase that literally there is no way to contradict it because you're like,
and that's what they like to do.
Yeah. So mental health. I mean, like anytime anyone does something, technically it's mental. It requires them to use their mental capacity.
Right.
And it's health in that it's a person.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those general terms in which you can't like argue that it doesn't exist. But as far as it being the actual problem, I would say no. That's where they're just using that phrase to basically put everything in this box that they can then pretend to have the answer to.
And I think, their answer to that is red flag laws, and what that is if your neighbor, right? The problem is there's no right to like a fair trial, even to a certain extent, right? If you irritate your neighbor or your neighbor thinks there's something wrong with you, all they have to do is just kind of report you, right? And say, someone doesn't make me feel comfortable, and they could possibly come in and like take your firearms. And so that's what that's what those red flag laws are all about. And so I think what happens is after we put us through COVID, after they put us through everything else, and a lot of these youth, we've talked about it before, they kept them at home, kept them away from their friends. Everything was on the computer. They were tied to social media. They had nothing to do but social media, computer learning, if that's what you want to call it, and video games. And I'm not trying to knock video games necessarily, but anything that was online was funneled at these kids, right? And funneled at people in general. And you have a lot of people now that suffer a little bit from the mental illness a little bit, and everyone gets a little depressed every now and then, and they have a hard time reaching out to get help because they don't want to be on a list. And what's going to alert someone on these red flag laws? The fact that maybe you looked up a counselor to go talk to because you were feeling kind of bad that day. And there's people that need help that don't reach out. And it's a shame.
And you see how they contradict themselves because, they did, shut everything down. They caused all these mental health related issues, right? They lessens people's health.
Right.
But then I hear commercials. There's a commercial that says you don't have to be there to be there, in which you're supposed to call a friend and stuff like that. This lie as if like, no, you could be there for someone without being there. And it's no, stop shutting people down and locking people in their homes.
Right.
No, they do need to be around other people. They do need to see friends.
Yeah.
They do need to see family. No, Skyping someone is not the same as finding a way to be there. And in fact, it's probably, if someone is struggling with possibly taking their lives, you know what? Skyping me when you're 5 minutes away is probably going to worsen, how I'm feeling. To know that you are literally 5 minutes away and you think that Skyping or texting me
Is the answer.
Yeah. That makes someone feel even more alone. But that's literally, as they say, everything's mental health. That's literally the message they're sending to these young kids and stuff is like, being at the movies while you guys text each other, even though you're next to each other, all this is good for your health overall. And it's like, no, being there in person, actually being there for friends and family, there is no substitute through the computer or any technology.
And honestly, I think, we got a video here that we're going to try and play on our new live streaming broadcast, which I'm really excited about because I've never done videos on here yet. But we're going to play, and it talks about how, once you lock people down, right? You lock them down and they're at home. And I know we're a little past that, but yet we're just reaping, I won't say the benefits, reaping everything that happened from that, right? You get people that, you don't even allow them to go out and run. You don't allow them to go to shut gyms down. You're making food, healthy food, hard to obtain. You're making it expensive. So what are you doing? You're creating we'll get to about how this kind of, I guess, ties into firearms. It sounds like a whole different podcast, right? But you're creating a group of people that are unhealthy, right? They're unhealthy. They're buying the inexpensive stuff, maybe because maybe that's all they can afford. Yeah. They've learned to stay home for a year, so now that's all they want to do. They aren't going out. They aren't being social. They're unhealthy. Maybe they're out of shape. And honestly, that alone will just affect your mental health. Yeah. Right. If you don't feel like you're worth anything and you don't feel good about yourself and you're unhealthy, that's going to affect your mental health. Now, there's a video that I want to play and you actually sent it to me, right? Let's play it so we can kind of get a refresher on it. It's been a little while since I watched it, and fingers crossed that this works, people. Fingers crossed that this works. So I'm going to do this.
About mental health, which we are seeing an issue here, but we forget how closely tied that is to physical health for our young men. Yeah. And it actually goes physical first, mental second. If there is physical health that is present, if that young man feels confident about his capabilities from a physical standpoint, it doesn't mean he's got to be a forever athlete or this ultimate stud, but he feels like he's healthy. He feels like he's in decent shape. He feels like he looks good. He feels like he has a physical presence that people notice. The mental part of that follows for a young man. It doesn't go the other way.
So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that while I get rid of this here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me what you think about it, because you sent it to me, so I want to get your opinion. And I know I have my opinion, but I want to hear yours first.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I would say, as a young man, and this is going back to when I was coming out of high school.
Back in 1942?
Yeah. When popsicle cost a nickel. But I was into sports and stuff, and whether it's sports or other things. But in school, they have this thing that was the reason I was at school. The rest of school, I thought, wasn't that important. I could say I learned more outside of school than I ever did in school, right? But sports, it was like you have this drive to do something. It gave you some kind of meaning and whatnot. More and more, they're taking that kind of out of school, or at least pushing young men out of that kind of realm. Again, not that that's the only way to become a young man, actually. It's definitely not. But however, you get out of high school, right? And you're striving for that. And you have a society that's just saying like, no, there's nothing for you. In fact, the stuff that you like made you feel good and have meaning, that's all toxic now. Now that you're an adult, that's all toxic. Yeah. And you're kind of lost and trying to figure out like, what am I then? If I'm not a physical being that's supposed to be, you know, the one to protect women and the, you know,
Right.
women and children first kind of concept. If you get into the quote real world, and that's what your government is telling you, in which like, no, that's all bad, you know. In fact, we can't even, like, what's a man? You know, that's very jarring to mental health. And I wish it was just after high school. Actually, it's like so early on now. You're talking about before they even hit puberty now, they're getting told this stuff as far as it's bad to be this way and stuff as a man. And then what's the answer? They don't give them. They're like, oh, well, you know, just shut up and take a jab.
Yeah.
That's what you can do.
Well, they're feeding you this whole toxic masculinity, you know, stuff, that sexual confusion.
Yeah.
Who are you? They're making, you know, they're confusing people. They're keeping them home. They're not. I'm not saying that you have to go out and be. There's all different kinds of sizes and shapes of people out there, right? And we had a podcast, and I won't say I felt bad about it, but I was a little concerned that maybe it came off wrong to some people. And we talked about, and I still stand behind this. You can still be a good shooter, but it's easier to be a better shooter. And, you know, if you have to defend your family, right, it can be a complete package. But that doesn't mean you can't be a good shooter, but, you know, can you fight? Are you strong? Are you quick? Can you do that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's all kind of a package deal to a certain extent. But we also have to feel like we can do it. You have to have good mental health. And by being able to do something, by being able to shoot good, by being able to run, by being good at, just choose something, right? Maybe you're really, really smart. Maybe you're really good at fixing cars. Maybe you're really good at your robotic stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But you feel proud. You feel good. And guess what? That gives you worth. That makes you have good mental health.
Yeah. And
they're taking that away, because I didn't mean to cut you, but I kind of had a thought that disappeared and it came back again. But so they're taking away a lot of that stuff, like in schools, right? And then they're wanting you to go to college, which, in all honesty, you don't have to go to college.
Yeah.
And they're not shining the light on trades, right? Trades can make good money. Trades can. You could be really good at something, and that's good for your mental health. Instead, they're pushing, go to school, go to college, get in debt, come out. There's no job for you, and now you're in debt up to your eyeballs, and then you're like, what am I really good at? I've wasted my life so far. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and personally, right, and this isn't to put any real value into it, but like I have my master's degree, right?
Sure.
And I got that after choosing to go to the military and not want to go into debt. And so I eventually had some GI Bill to pay for it. Right. I can tell you again, I learned way more out of school than I did in school, even with that. And then, so I did that, right? It took me like 13 years to get that, right? It took me it took me 13 years, I think, to get my bachelor's, first of all, right? Nonetheless, I go to the Air Force, and this is not to tell people, you know, to necessarily go into the military, but I learned how to fix a multi-million-dollar plane in a matter of 4 months. So that tells you, you know, like something's off here. This is the same government that's telling kids to go to a 4-year school where your first 2 years is you paying thousands of dollars to get general ed, right? And then though, when it comes to military, it's like, 4 months, you can learn how to build build and then work on an aircraft. Mm-hmm. Something's off there. Why is it when you guys really need efficiency, by they, I'm talking about the government, it's obvious, right? Young men and women can learn how to do things very quickly, right? When it's actually, hey, focus on this, boom. You go from not touching an aircraft to now we trust you with a multi-million-dollar aircraft. Oh, you average kids, go get in debt. Right. Screw up your mental health, struggling with that. Don't get any real life experience, but go pay for that for 4 years and come out what? With no job experience, no life experience. And in fact, and basically I had an instructor who actually told me, he was pretty honest. He said, you know what you guys proved by being here today? That you can sit down for hours at a time and do what you're told. You know, in terms of college. Oh, wow. And that's really what it is. Yeah. You know, they're spewing out these people with bad mental health. Why? Because that's all they want of you. Go sit down and do what you're told.
Well, you know, it's one of those things. you just set up perfect. They're spewing out people with bad mental health because what? Government's in the schools. Government controls everything, and you can't tell me they're not controlling the price of food and the reason why it's going up and everything else, right? They want you to be in a bad place. They want you to be in a bad state. They want you to depend on them for absolutely everything. They want to be the answer for everything. And if you're tired and you're down on yourself and you're broken and your only source of even entertainment is going online and being on social media, and we can see how those, and I'm on social media as well, so I get to talk like this, but how they funnel the information they want you to have on social media, and you go to Reddit and you go to all these places, right? I mean, and there's like the shooter in Uvalde, he was online talking to undercover FBI agents. Did they push him in that direction? It's said that they possibly did, but do they take these broken people? They take these people that are down on their luck, and they locate them and they take them and they funnel little suggestions here and there, and it's like, I've been locked down. I since the lockdown, I don't have any friends. I don't do anything. This is my new life now. I come home, I get on the computer, and finally someone's paying attention to me. They might be asking me what I did that day or what I like to do, and maybe you should go buy these guns. Maybe you should do this. Maybe. So is mental health like I don't know that's necessarily a natural problem as it's being like caused by the government so they can use it when they want to. Yeah.
I mean, because a natural way in terms of self-defense or just self-preservation, right, is to question things, right? And what's the government saying? Good mental health is for you not to question anything, say the government is doing. And they need you broken in order so that they can go ahead and do as they will with you, because all they need of you, like you said, just sit down and do what you're told. That's how we stay out of their way, basically, in which they can do whatever they want for us. It is not anyone who's seeking power. It does them no good to have people who are going to question said power.
Well, and all they really want, I tell everyone, I haven't said this for quite a while, but all they really want is for you to like show up, right? You want to show up at the government trough.
Yeah.
You want you to feed at the government trough. And when you get done, they want you to look up and say, give me more.
Yeah.
Give me more. What do I need to get more? And that's one of the reasons why they want our firearms. And they're going to create situations, in my mind, that are going to have people, they're going to create situations where people go out and do bad things. Whether that's they tell someone to do it or they force a bunch of stuff on you and they force someone to get just pissed off. I've had enough. Irate. They start taking shots. They do bad things. And then they're able to come in and say, we can't trust you with firearms. Yeah. We can't trust you. You guys can't take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
Look at you. And we're going to take your guns.
As we talk, right, I'm just thinking about like raising a child, right? Say you're a man and you're raising a son, right? And say you go out there, you're cutting wood and stuff like that. You have an axe, right? Or a chainsaw. Say a chainsaw, right? You're using it, right? Your son sees it all the time. He's growing up. What would it mean if, as he grows into a young man, you still refuse to let him use a chainsaw, right? Clearly, your intent is to keep him as a child at some point.
Right.
And just think about that's what the government's doing to us, right? Oh, you get to have F-15s and drones flying above us. You get to jab us up. And then it's when it comes to us, hey, can I have this little firearm? It's like, think you're raising a son and you got this chainsaw and he asks to, hey, can I use this hatchet, and you go, no, absolutely not. Right? That young man would be right to question, like, wait a second.
Yeah.
You're walking around, twirling a chainsaw.
I don't twirl it. But
right? But that's what our government is doing. They're treating us not, I think before on another podcast with you, we might have said they treat us like a child, but I think it's worse. It's not even as if it's a caring father, trying to raise us to be able to properly use tools. No, this is a mentally unstable government that literally never wants us to be able to use the same tools.
Right.
Never wants us near their tools. They don't want us understanding the tools they're using. So it's far worse than just like a bad parent. This is someone who literally wants to stump the growth of its citizens.
Well, and it's they try to reward us in certain ways, right? Like
Yeah.
they're trying to reward with, you know what, we're going to pay off your student debts.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to take care of that for you. And what does that do? That makes it so you don't have to go out and work hard. You don't have to do anything. You're just, okay, pay off my student debts.
Yeah.
And then what else are you going to do for me? And I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, like as I said before, with learning how to fix an aircraft in 4 months, right? Special forces, I want to say, is like typically 3 years before you go out on a mission, right? So
Yeah.
think about that. Average college is really, I think now it's probably about 5 years it takes someone to finish, and what you're paying and go into debt.
Yeah.
Yet they could pay special forces to go do amazing things that special forces is able to do in 3 years and pay them the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's because they're going to go work and do what we want of them,
Well,
right?
yeah, so we're gonna give them
but
extra,
That tells
yeah.
you that doesn't make any sense. Like, yeah, just going back to general ed, 2 years of general ed after I spent 13 years in your public schools. What does that tell you?
Yeah,
They're literally
well-
telling you we didn't do so great.
And the public schools aren't doing anything but teaching them what to think.
Yeah.
They don't teach them how to think. They don't teach them critical thinking. They don't teach them any of that.
No, and that was one of the things when I was
Pass
on
the test, and they can't even do that.
Yeah. When I was in law enforcement, and then I was teaching a couple of law classes at the local high school there through that, through a program there. And yeah, when this stuff was going on and we had them doing the distance learning, wasn't learning. And in fact, they told us that, I think we talked about this before, they told us like basically everyone's passing, just keep them busy, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then, but yeah, I remember asking them, I think it was going into the holidays, Thanksgiving or New Year, something of that. And I asked them, hey, just tell me what are you hopeful for next year, for the holiday season for next year. And 75% of those kids online told me, oh, better mental health, right? And it was clear, and that's part of what led me to getting out of there. But I'm just thinking, I'm part of this lie in which I'm making believe like this is just like being in class, and these kids are they're just like not learning, and then basically just letting me know like,
Hey,
life is not great right now. I'm
we're
mentally,
hurting.
We
Yeah.
are hurting, and I was told just keep the camera on and give them busy work. To lie to them, and it wasn't good for those kids at all.
Well, and that's what they wanted. So they're looking to raise up a whole, and I hate to refer to them as crop, but a whole new generation or a whole new crop of youngsters that this is all they know, right?
Yeah.
This is all they know. This is what they're used to. So it's no big deal if we lock you down and tell you to stay in your houses again.
And then what does that lead to? Like with the Uvalde, all these shootings, right? It's typically because they have a disconnect from their fellow man. And
Yeah.
what has it done the past 3 years to lock people in their homes and tell them that contact is so bad, right? This generation is going to have no context for like what another human being is and the value of another human being. They've been told it's not of value. Skyping a human being is the same as being next to them. So what does that tell you as far, and then throw in the video games and all this, right? Press a button or pull a trigger, it won't mean much.
There's no
to them.
value anymore,
There's no
yeah.
value. This is just a person who,
Well,
they
they're-
weren't on my friend list or whatever, they
They're-
got on social media, so they're not really a person to me.
And they're also used to all those movies, right, where they see someone get shot, and guess what? The heck, they see him like 3 days later in like another show.
Yeah.
And so it's just what they're flooded with. It's what they're everything's funneled to them, for a reason. And it's kind of a scary place it's a scary place that we're living in anymore.
Yeah.
And you just, we're talking about mass shootings. We were talking about all this stuff, but I was listening and he I think he released it last weekend probably, but I was listening to Forgotten American podcast.
yeah.
I was listening to that and he pointed out too that the last 3 shootings we had were was it old Chinese? Was it Chinese? Guys?
Asian at least.
Old Asian guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is what I don't know what they're getting at now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess the high population in California.
Well,
but yeah, it definitely is. I remember growing up, we had where I was the good guys shooting, we call it. It was where it was some Vietnamese young men. They were brothers. They had been brought over here by their father. promised, America is so great and everything. And then they got here and saw, hard times basically, and things weren't great. Father wasn't just, hey, got a job and everything's good here. And they basically, from what I was told, basically life wasn't great here, right? And then and Good Guys Shooting was where they took some people hostage, some people were killed, and then eventually, I forget if all 3 of them were shot dead. I think they may have. But basically, that story was about that, right? It was a quote mental health thing in which they were lied to. It was all gummy bears and rainbows, and then they get here, and that's to say, like, I think we have a whole generation that's going to be like that. They've been told, this promise of good things, and they're going to get to reality and realize, no, I just have $50,000 debt. I didn't really learn anything. And, like, what's the point of life? Like, you're telling me being a woman isn't worth being a woman, being a man's not worth being a man. You're going to have a lot of young people like that group that decided to do that it's because they're lost and they feel they've been lied to, in which I don't want to see how they're going to erupt with that, especially as
they'll erupt sooner or later.
Yeah, yes, it won't be good, and that's where I think that vulnerability is perhaps where those who want power are going to utilize that to perhaps mold it in the direction that best suits them.
The whole gummy bears and rainbow thing, that's kind of how my wife trapped me into getting married. She promised me gummy bears and rainbows.
They do it to us all.
I'm still waiting. 27 years later, give me my damn gummy bears. I've been a good boy. Yeah. But no, this was a great discussion today, and knock on wood, our live is still up and running, and we've had good comments. I appreciate all the comments. But do you remember when you were a little kid on Saturday mornings? Did you watch cartoons?
Oh yeah.
I like cartoons too. It's been a while since I've watched them, but you introduced me to some, like, I'm going to call them like adult cartoons.
Yeah,
we're not the bad adult cartoons, but I'm going to go ahead and play this because I think it kind of makes sense with all the gun talk. It fits with the channel, so I'll play this and we'll see what you guys think about it.
Okay, so California may be wrong about some economic issues, but I've lived in this state for 15 minutes, and I think it's time we make some common sense changes that everyone could agree to.
No, so you're leaving.
What kind of changes? First and foremost, we need to eliminate gun crime.
That's ambitious. What's your plan?
To do everything my home state did.
Sorry, but there's no reason to believe that would do anything but make the problem worse. Big cities are where most gun crime is concentrated, and those cities are generally run by left-wing political parties who implement more strict gun control laws, and never to any avail. In fact, the parts of the country with the most lenient gun laws tend to have the least gun crime. Gun owners are less likely to commit crimes when their guns are legally owned. If someone's willing to go through the legal process, odds are they don't want their gun for criminal purposes. The kind of person who wants to use a gun for violent ends isn't above purchasing a gun on the black market, so they're gonna end up getting one anyway.
If that's true, then why did the UK gun bans work?
They didn't. Gun crime in the UK spiked after the ban, and it took several years for it to start to decrease. Since then, it hasn't declined any more rapidly than gun crime in America has.
Well, they worked in Australia.
Did they? Gun crime in Australia was decreasing at an identical rate before the gun ban, so there's no reason to believe it had any positive effect.
Well, it didn't have a negative effect either, so...
They literally have concentration camps.
Oh my goodness, there's nothing wrong with your government relocating you to an internment facility without a trial. You're just being dramatic. Anyway, you owning a gun is literal child murder.
There's no reason to believe gun control would prevent massacres. In fact, it does the opposite, forcing innocent civilians to wait for police to defend them, instead of giving them the power to defend themselves.
Say what you want, okay? I still think guns need to be banned. Give me your money. Ah! Someone with a gun save me! I'm rethinking my position!
So yeah, I don't. That's the best cartoon I've seen in a long time. Like the only thing was missing was like a blast from my past. The only thing was missing was my bowl of Fruit Loops. I was sitting on the couch before my wife or my wife. I didn't have a wife then. Before my mom and dad got up and like made me do my chores, right? If we got up at like 6 or by like about 6, you could start the cartoons. You're good usually till about 8 or 9.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you guys, this is a live video, so you can replay that back, and you can actually find that on YouTube. And I tell you what, tomorrow morning, or actually next Saturday morning, you can sit down with your bowl of Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
And you can relive your old childhood.
Yep.
That's that's what I do. But no, it's been fantastic. I think these live, as long as I can get my the technical side of this thing all figured out, because I'm not good at it. And as Idaho Pete, he knows I struggle with this, and this is hard. This is rough for me. So I think we'll keep doing this. And I did notice I just got to put this disclaimer out there. So I guess I was like setting up like how to do this, and when I set it up like a couple hours before, I guess it pops up on YouTube. I don't know about Facebook. It popped up on YouTube and said going live at 11. I'm like, no, I didn't realize that. I was going live at 3, and it said I was going live like right then and there. So I'm sure a bunch of people tried to watch it and were like, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
So I apologize. I'm still getting everything figured out. I'm working out the bugs.
And then Jim asked a question earlier about law enforcement and the jab. Every jurisdiction was different. I would say the one I left, they had, I think the union and stuff, they had made it to where we weren't going to have to. But yeah, all of California, every jurisdiction was a little different.
Okay. Quincy says, this sounds like some of the conversations that I have. Well, that's good, because I want these podcasts, even if it's audio or video version. I just always like to. That's why I bring people on. Eli's here all the time. He lives really close now. The other guys show up when they can, and that's what I want. I just want this to be a conversation with friends. Sometimes it's a little more serious, maybe like today, where it sounds like maybe I put a little thought into it. Sometimes we just have a good time and we joke and give each other a hard time, and you get to hear boring stories from Todd. But it's fun. I just want it to be a conversation. I don't ever want to sound like I'm preaching at anybody, right?
Yeah, I think what you just said is actually what YouTube, when they ban you, they're going to say too much thought.
Probably.
Too much thought. You've been banned.
Yeah, in fact, if you look up here, Jim's pretty sure that we're going to get, actually last time we did this, Facebook removed me first. And YouTube never removed me, but it was been like 2 years later. Some podcasts that me and the Cajun Cowboy did, they actually removed them. Like, I don't even remember what episodes they were. It was like 2 years previous, and they're like, "We're gonna pull this episode down." I'm like, "Oh, it's been up for freaking 2 years. Who cares?" Yeah. But I don't know. It's kind of a weird deal. But hey, thanks for joining. I do appreciate it. If you want to share the audio version, which will be up probably by tomorrow morning, or even these live versions, if you want to share them on your social media, you want to send them to your friends, have other people listen to them, right? Watch them. They can share them on social media themselves. They can subscribe. All that stuff helps, and I always appreciate everyone that does chime in and all the support that I receive. And I appreciate Eli taking a time away from his family on a Sunday afternoon, just flawlessly. Just you're here every Sunday, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll go back home and have my bowl of cereal.
That's right. I think he gives his wife and his daughter some Benadryl, and they go to sleep, and then he slips out the back door. Is that kind of what happens? He's like, Todd, I'm not coming back.
Chamomile,
whatever works, man. Whatever works.
None of that pharmaceuticals.
Whatever works. So I do appreciate it. If you guys, we're going to do an episode pretty soon. I just got to perfect a few things where you guys can actually call in. And so I'm just trying to get some stuff finalized on that. And when I get that figured out here, I think I know how to do it, but I want to make sure everything else is in place as well and nothing's going to cut out. When I get that figured out, I will let you guys know plenty ahead of time. And you see down here this little scrolling thing where it says join the live chat. As soon as you see my phone number pop up on there, that means that you can call in. So we're gonna try. I think that'll be a fun episode to do. I want to try to do like one of those once a month if I can. But we're gonna have to, and I appreciate you guys watching. We're gonna have to get more viewers though. If you really want to get a lot of phone calls, we got to get some more viewers in here. Have you guys call in with your stories, your questions, your comments, whatever. I kind of want to model it. After like a call-in radio show to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I did the radio show episode a while back, and we talked about my love for radio. So I want to do that when I answer the phone. I want to say, caller west of the Rockies. So yeah, Quincy, I did hear that Frontside is under new management. I hope that doesn't affect your membership thing. I'm not sure how that works. I haven't delved into it. They sent me a lot of emails, and I'm good for one, and then I just kind of delete all the rest. So anyhow, I think we're out of here. We're going to let Eli get back to his family. I got to go inside and see what's going on. I actually got chores today. I got to go feed the chickens. So if you want to support the podcast even more, you can, in the audio version of this, you can go and you can join the Patreon in the show notes. That'd be fantastic. I'm trying to do extra podcasts there as well as some videos. So I would appreciate that. Until then, we will be back on Wednesday with the audio only podcast. And then we'll be back next weekend with the video version as well. So thanks for joining us, guys. Bye.